Good. All right, let's begin with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everybody to the April 22nd Marion County Commission meeting. As always, we begin with public forum. Is there anyone from the public wishing to make comments?
Not this time.
Anyone else? No. Don't see anyone online to make public comments, so we will move to agenda approval. Ty will move you up to, when we move you up to now. Let's add a section at the end from Commissioner Becker on the 30-30 initiative. Any other additions or changes to the agenda? If not, the agenda stands approved, and we move forward with Ty. Come on up to the seat, and welcome.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
Nice day for a drive to come on over.
Glad you could blow in.
Yeah, I got court to go to in a little bit upstairs, so. One.
You got one more?
I've got one more.
All right.
I've learned I bring more than I need.
Okay, that's good.
Nothing around.
Unless you want to leave one for Randy too also. You need one yet? You just need one more.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. There we go. Now leave one for Randy.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna give that to him after I'm done with it. Okay, I am Ty Wheeler with Kansas Legal Services. We are a statewide not-for-profit law firm. I tell everybody that means we run under the same rules as every other lawyer up and down Main Street, except for we're not in it to make money. Some years they do too well at that, and some years we break even. This last year we actually broke even, but it was more an issue of saving money on staffing than anything else. Staffing has become probably my most difficult issue to deal with. Trying to get new lawyers to come to Emporia, Kansas is like pulling teeth. The first year when I was managing attorney back 30 years ago, the first job I had open, I think I got close to 85 resumes. Wow. I've had a position open in my office for the last year and a half. In that time, I've gotten 3 resumes that were qualified. I made 3 job offers to those 3 people. One accepted a job in our Wichita office for $5,000 less a year. Another one decided she was going to stay at home and be a mom. And then I've got one that's going to start in May. Brian Henderson has come to my office. Brian is an experienced attorney. He's got 20 plus years experience down in Oklahoma. He and his wife moved to Emporia, and she originally came to work for me. Then the county counselor's office hired her away to be the county counselor, and I was left looking. And we had Leah Soretti, who was there for a while, and she left to go to child support enforcement because she wanted a job that gave her a little less stress than our job. We are a high-paced, high-volume office. We try to be there for people who have no other access to the civil or criminal justice system. In Emporia, we do some criminal cases. We do them in Morris and Marion. The reason we've come over here and done some is because Judge Powers asked me to. Actually begged me to. Only problem is when I was down to one staff, me, we did tell Marion County, stop appointing us, let us get our breath caught, we'll be back. Hopefully when Nick starts in May, we'll begin accepting cases for court appointments still. We're still wrapping up the cases we had. Some of the criminal cases take 2-3 years to get done, depending on what's going on. And then I get appointed oftentimes on revocations on cases I previously did. I'm glad to see that in Marion County last year, my numbers actually didn't go down, they went up. I ended up doing more cases last year, and for 6 months, I was down to one attorney, me, the only attorney in the office. We represented 82 people from Marion County, 13 of them in civil cases, 64 under the public defender contract. We had 9 people that we advised in office. Generally, our advices now are done, we have 2 full-time attorneys that work with the Wichita Central Intake Office. And if people call in and they screen in and say, oh, it's probably just gonna be an advice, it gets sent to one of those people right away. They don't have to wait. If it's sent to our office for us to advise, usually we gotta set an appointment down the road or a week later. And maybe they're only calling in to ask a simple question like, how long do I have to wait in Kansas to get divorced? How long do I have to live here? And simple questions like that can just be answered real easy by somebody who just knows the law. The kinds of cases that I do that I find are probably the most important to the local population is we're the attorney when somebody else can't find an attorney. I try very hard not to compete with the local bar. Matter of fact, I probably get more calls from the local bar than anybody else saying, hey, this lady is in my office talking to me about a divorce, she can't afford my retainer. And I'm like, send her to our intake, have her do an intake, make sure she's not a conflict, and make sure she qualifies, and we'll talk to her. We get money. When the last I looked, I think we're at 56 different funding sources. Nobody pays us enough to do any one case. Marion County comes close on criminal appointments, except for Judge Powers hadn't let me bill for travel time, so I gotta figure out how to get over here and get those done. But about the only case that pays me probably the going rate for an attorney was we do some mediations for the post office once in a while. Haven't done those in about 3 or 4 years, but we used to do some mediations for postal issues. And those pay about $400 an hour. So, you know, I like those. But we do a lot of protection cases, protection order PFAs. When somebody's being abused, they call in, do an application, and if they are being abused, we get involved. If somebody calls in on a domestic matter and it's no abuse, no priorities, we don't even talk to them. It doesn't even get through our system. They have to have some sort of issue that will make us want to help them. We work very closely with the domestic advocacy groups about making sure we're screening the right cases in and the right ones out. If a lady calls us and says, hey, my husband's in jail, he's gonna get out in 5 years, but I wanna marry my new boyfriend. I'm telling her she needs to save up her money and go hire somebody down the street. If she calls up and says, hey, he's abusing my children, I found dirty pictures, you know, whatever is going on, as nasty as you can believe, we're probably getting involved. And oftentimes what happens is we get involved, get a protection order, get them protected, and then we realize that they may have assets or stuff that they can afford to hire an attorney, and I set them up and try to get them to a private attorney to take the rest of the case. I mean, I don't want to be doing a divorce where there's $1 million estate. That somebody else can handle that. If there's no estate, abuse, and kids, I want to do that one. I want to help those kind of people out. We did one disability case in Marion County last year. We no longer do adult disability cases in the Emporia office. They all go to Wichita or Topeka because that's where the hearings are held. And we determined on adults it was easier to have them travel to the hearing and us stay put. Otherwise, I'm spending an hour and a half up, hour and a half back, and tripling my time in a case. The kids' cases we still do in Emporia because we still have to talk with the kids and talk with the doctors, talk with the educators, and they're easier to do on kids locally. And then sometimes we go to the hearings, I do, and sometimes we have a paralegal who goes and does some hearings if they're in the Kansas City or the Topeka office. If they're in Wichita, I have to go to them. I'm trying to see what else we did this year. We did a guardianship here in Marion County, a young man who we assisted in guardianship when he became an adult. He's disabled and not going to be able to take care of himself. We helped out in that situation. But if you ask the bar up and down the street, we try not to compete. On the type of cases that we handle, we're probably the best attorneys in the state handling those type of cases. I mean, if you come to me and say, hey, I need a patent, I don't have any idea and I'm telling you to go see somebody else. But if you come to me asking, I need a restraining order, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've probably done 140 domestic cases a year for 30 years. There's not much we haven't seen. Brian actually retains his commission as a deputy in Oklahoma. He's got all the experience of being a lawyer for 20 years and then being a SWAT guy for 20 years. So he's about my age and got vast experience, and it was great to hire somebody that I didn't have to train. So we've got it pretty much going on, and hopefully in May we'll be up to 3 attorneys again. And my boss has told me he wants to see me at 5. So if we can find attorneys to come to Emporia, we'll get the staffing done and be able to provide even more help. Last year, the only number in Marion County I didn't like was rejects. We had 29 clients who qualified for services that we had to tell no, we don't have staff or resources. Now, part of that was because we were so understaffed last year. But a lot of that is just there is not enough funding for all the legal needs that people need. The Kansas Bar Association, and I think it was KU, did a legal needs study about 3 or 4 years ago, and they found that 80% of the people had a legal need, and that of those 80%, only 10% sought an attorney. 2 major reasons in that. They didn't think it could afford it, and they didn't think it would help. And that's pretty sad. If you're going to court and you don't have an attorney, you're at a horrible disadvantage. I know in Social Security cases, if you go with an attorney, you got about an 80% chance of winning. If you go without an attorney, you're down to about 20. So there's a big difference. But I think we do good work. I think if you ask Judge Robson or Judge Vire or anybody else, or the county attorney's office, we work very closely with them. So,
Randy, come on in.
I'm sorry.
That's kind of at a break point to come in.
Randy, how are you?
Pretty good, sir. You did good?
I'm doing good.
All righty.
We have a copy of the reports there for you.
Gotcha.
So, but otherwise, we're doing good this year for getting stuff done and getting around and doing things, even with our staffing issues. I mean, they're just not graduating enough lawyers in Kansas anymore. When I graduated, there were 230 people in my class. Last year, there were 97. 95 of them had a job before they took the bar. That meant there were 2 attorneys I could go talk to. I talked to them both. So,
Is the trend going the other way though, maybe?
not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Law school has become, as tuition goes up, everybody knows, law school has become incredibly expensive, and people are not as willing to take out a loan as they used to be to just go to law school. A lot of people are taking other career paths. I mean, a lot of lawyers, like 20% of us, do not work in law within 10 years of getting our degree. So, you know. And then in Kansas, it's Wichita, Lawrence, Topeka, Kansas City. After that, it's a desert. I mean, I did a panel at Washburn last year. We had an attorney from Keeney, one from Finney County, a couple rural, and they're in the same problem we are. I mean, Finney County is now paying $100,000 for their associate county attorney, and pitching on it. And they're, you know, we're 5 minutes from the airport, and the airport is an hour from Dallas, hour from Denver, an hour from St. Louis. And so if they come down, work a month, take a long weekend, and take off to Dallas. So
Counties don't even have some of these counties don't even have a county bar anymore, do they?
some counties don't have any attorneys. If you go to Chase County, the only practicing attorney in Chase County that lives in Chase County is Bill Howerson, the county attorney. There's nobody else. If you come here to Marion County, I think you have the county attorney that lives here and the judge. But when we do court upstairs, it's a Lyon County Bar Association meeting. There's 3 or 4 attorneys from Emporia. And Emporia, when I came to Emporia, there were 56 members of the practicing private bar. There's now 19. So, Morris County, I don't think they have any attorneys either that practice criminal law or anything like that. There's Bill Castlebaum, Laura Vire, I think, what's his name? Is still there, but he doesn't practice. Terrell Bryant. He's there, but he doesn't practice anything. So when you go to Morris County, it's Lyon County Manhattan Bar. So
Again, all the more important for the services you provide
I think so.
for those in need.
I think we do a good job.
Other questions, Commission? Well, Ty, we appreciate the work you're doing, not only in Marion County, but in the region. Obviously, very much needed, and from our perspective, very much appreciated.
Appreciate that. It's nice to be liked.
Now we'll let you go upstairs to court.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Randy Ty had a court commitment, so we moved him up. So now we'll move to administrative. So Ashley,
We have the minutes from April 15.
okay, Commission has had a chance to review the April 15th minutes. Any corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gehring, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Becker. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carried 5-0.
And that's all for me right now.
In your packet, you have the final payment application for the 1240 commercial remodel, and the amount is $69,407.15.
Any questions? I think all commissioners have had a chance to see the building, and we're very pleased with the final product for the taxpayers. There's
It's been turned over. Contractor's done.
Yes.
Everybody's happy.
Let's not go too far. All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gehring, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Crowfoot to approve the
Pay application
pay
number
application
5.
number 5, and the amount is $69,407.15. Any discussion?
Did you say that dollar was?
$69,407.15.
I heard 7 in the wrong spot, so it's.
All in favor say aye.
Me too.
Opposed nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Okay, and then with that, we have an early check
Same amount.
for that same amount.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gehring, is there a second? Second Commissioner Dalkey. Questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed nay. Motion carried 5-0. All right, what's next?
Next, we have the ARPA report, which was in your packet.
Questions?
How long does the reporting go on that?
Several years after we're,
I
after
don't know, I
we
had
finish.
2025 in my head, I don't know. if that-
No, we'll have reporting in 25 and 26 and possibly 27. But it's two times, it's basically, we're reporting annually by April 30th. So this,
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the report?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Becker, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Garing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
okay, then I have a signature page for you. Yeah, I can get it. Thank you. So in your packet, you had the draft agreement for the construction manager at risk with Cody Nelson Files. We did have a few corrections that were made today. Wherever it says NF Construction, we're correcting it to say Nelson Fowles LLC because that's the appropriate name of the company. On the third page of the document, we do not have the 100% construction documents. We expect those on Friday, or by this Friday. So the dates have all shifted by that 11 days, basically, because in the contract it says the 15th of April, which we didn't have them. So that means 100% construction documents, April 26th. Construction commencement, which would be April 27th, which they're not actually gonna start building that day, but that's the day after we get the 100% drawings. And the substantial completion would be December 31, based on that schedule. So those are updated in the new draft. And then on page 4, where it says that they have to have 3 bids from each subcontractor, there may be a few instances where they're not able to, where they don't receive 3 bids, so we put to the extent possible. And I did mention that we would want to see that they have actually solicited at least 3 bids, even if they didn't get responses. And that would be for potentially not the major scopes of work. We would make sure that they have that for all the major scopes. And those were all the changes that were made. So if the commission is comfortable with that contract with those changes, then I would like acceptance from the board.
Questions from the commission on the contract?
Is there anything that you have any doubts about, Tina?
No, not at this point, no. It's all looking good.
I'm good with it.
Other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the construction manager's contractor agreement with Nelson Fowles LLC?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Crowfoot, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dalkey. Questions and discussion?
So the GMP that on this contract is the 1.5.
It is that 1.49, basically 1.5. 549-414-61.
Just making sure it wasn't the top one.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, good question, good clarification. Other questions? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried by a vote.
Okay. I'll have you sign on the page with the sticky note. So I had on my list a reminder of the meeting tonight. So it sounds like we have, how many just,
Commissioner Becker's going. Are you done?
Junction City, it starts, the social time starts at 5:30 and then the meeting, I think it's at 6.
County car available?
Yes.
You going?
Well, I was gonna ask
I think it'd be.
what the
good
commissioners would like, because
Well, if it doesn't, if you don't have any other plans.
Yeah.
I have it on my calendar, so
Good.
I just, like, if you were all going and you didn't want me to go, I didn't want to just go.
There's room.
Okay.
You need to.
Just to.
We had a slide in it.
We're going to Junction City.
Junction City. Tina and I'll bring the car by and pick you up and
Good,
we can do that.
okay.
Oh, Junction City,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the direction.
It's a little bit around the way.
Pick me up at Lincolnville.
Pick you up at Lincolnville, do that, yeah. Co-op over there. I just had the wrong town.
Okay,
Wrong highway.
no worries.
Highway.
Abilene would have worked.
Randy's not driving.
No, Tina is.
Oh, dear.
The last go around we went to Clay Center, so that's the reason why I worked.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, I'll go in the other direction this time. The other things that I had on the administrative business are agenda items, so we'll deal with those at that time. And then I do have my administrative report that was in the packet. Does anybody have questions or anything that you want me to go over on that?
I just want to say I appreciate the form your administrative report is taking. And in some ways, I see it as a good, like a public release or public information of what's going on in the county. Can be used, especially the road projects, I've noticed. By getting it into this format, at least it's available to the public of what's going on in the county, factual information of what's actually going on. There's a lot going on.
Yes.
I appreciate the format, not only for informing us as commissioners, but for informing the public.
There'd be something to post on the webpage, the road information, every Monday morning or every Tuesday or Wednesday or, I don't know when it becomes complete.
It's on.
And it's a moving target.
Yeah, it's,
So yes, we can. I will say that Road and Bridge is sending the road information to the paper on a weekly basis. They're gonna start, like, at least the closures. They're gonna start sending them to the newspaper on a weekly basis. And they are posting those on their social media. So as far as my report is usually, like, I could potentially post on Mondays because we review it on Mondays and have it out there.
It ought to be consistent, that way somebody can know they gotta look every Tuesday, get the update,
Right,
not just whenever.
right. As far as when I have that complete, it varies, so I would say Monday might be a good day to put it out there.
We gotta have a stop time sometime. Can't keep adding to it.
Right, I know, but it's just a matter of when I have time to get it ready. So if everybody's good with it going out on Mondays, Mondays is appropriate.
but there's a lot going on in Road and Bridge.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Yeah, it may not be a complete comprehensive list, so. Okay. That was all I had.
Depends on the weather.
Yes, everything's depending on the weather. All right. With that, we're ready for Sharon and the planning and zoning. Sharon, if you're out the hallway. Come on in. We have a packed house today, so no room to sit in here.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. So I have a conditional use permit application that was brought to the planning commission on April 4th. The application was filed by Mr. Chad Entz, and he is not present today. He is seeking a conditional use permit for an agricultural equipment sales business operation at 1441 Highway 56. You may have seen the sign. He has some equipment there already and a nice sign that points that out. Sorry, let me get back here to my staff report. So generally speaking, agricultural activities are allowed by right on most tracts of land. In Marion County, however, agricultural purposes in Article 1 is defined in a manner that shall not include the wholesale or retail sales of accessory use on the property. That's why it's a requirement to get a conditional use permit for this particular land use. And so Article 19 defines those commercial and retail stores and the ability to obtain a conditional use permit through this process. The Planning Commission on April 4th made a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners to approve the agricultural sales business with the condition that, sorry, let me find my notes, that the lighting be directed away from the highway. And that was a unanimous vote by the board, 10-0. Do you have any questions about this particular application or concerns?
Sharon, when he did this in the presentation that he made, based upon the map that he provided, the place with the X, is that the extent of what he was asking you to grant this CUP for?
That's where most of the equipment is right now. It's sort of, there's that ag machine shop that you can see there just to the, it'd be to the west, yeah. That,
Stuff to the west a bit.
He's been placing, like balers and that sort of thing. I
right.
drove by it over the weekend. I was curious as I went by there. And he's got 5 to 6, up to 8 units that he consistently parks in front of that. Not a problem, just want to be sure that the CUP covers him.
Okay.
If he's saying that was all, we probably need to at least make some kind of a statement that we're also allowing him along either side of that shed
okay.
to display.
He didn't particularly indicate that that's the only area that he intends to use. I think just that whole portion of land in general. And then he
I was just
also-
concerned when I saw the map.
Right, yeah. I think he was just trying to point out kind of where it is at that he's
Yeah.
storing that equipment at this time.
Yeah.
And he also did mention in the meeting that he intends to not carry over any equipment that doesn't sell after a certain period of time. He doesn't want old equipment sitting around. His intention is not to have any type of like salvage yard or anything like that. So his intention is to auction off any equipment that hasn't sold within whatever time limit.
Sure.
Yeah, that was right.
Yeah.
Not during
That's in question,
trade-ins.
approximately 11.4 acres.
Yes, that's correct, yep. And there's a nice big area, that ingress egress point there off of Highway 56. It has a nice long culvert. He has spoken with KDOT. They're okay with that, him using that ingress egress point. There's plenty of space to turn around in his yard. This picture makes it look small, but there's quite a bit of space actually.
Semis easily turn around in there.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
did include 11 point some acres for that,
11.4.
Yes, yes.
or 1.4?
11.
11.4, so it is the whole area then.
Yeah.
Is that the whole yard?
Sometimes when you ask people for their development plan, you get a range of engineered detailed studies all the way down to an X on a piece of paper. But if you've had a chance to go past there, he does have some equipment and he has it neatly lined up on both sides of that machine shed. And his whole property, honestly, I think he does a nice job with upkeep.
It's looked very nice for the past year.
Yeah.
He's slowly keeps adding to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So is the permit then retroactive to back when he started? Because he's been in business for like a year,
Well,
maybe not quite that long.
so he kind of started.
2 years.
He started with a couple of pieces of equipment. I think he realized that when he trades in, he does custom cutting. So when he trades in equipment, there's quite a big loss with whatever company you're trading in that equipment with, kind of like a car dealership. There's a certain amount of that profit margin that the dealership keeps. I mean, that's their business. And so he came to realize that he can move enough equipment because he goes through enough equipment and trades out equipment often enough that he could potentially keep part of that. I don't know if you'd call it profit, but
Less loss.
yeah, that's right. So he started on a small scale and then it just kind of started building from there because he does use quite a bit of equipment. And then he realized that he could make a business out of that, and he put up the sign. And at first, I think a lot of us just thought he's really neat and tidy and had things lined up very well, which he does. But then there were more things, and then the sign was a telltale sign. So we reached out to him and said, hey, this is a retail business, which does not fall under that agricultural purposes definition that's allowed by right on that property, since our county is owned. So he came in, he was honestly a little bit embarrassed that he didn't know that he needed to have a conditional use permit, which, I can see the confusion there. And he was very willing to cooperate with the board and our office and got this filed as quickly as possible.
Did he understand that's gonna affect the classification of that building he's operating out of too?
So as far as tax-wise, that's all.
It's just an extra layer of use that you can have with the land.
Right. It still keeps I think since it's 11.4 acres, it's still classified as rural residential zoning. This just adds a layer of use over the top of that. He has the ability to operate this business on that residential piece of property.
So the building itself can still be rated as ag use instead of commercial? The equipment building?
That's probably a question for the appraiser permit.
Yeah, I shouldn't,
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
just,
We honestly, in the planning and zoning department, we solely deal with the zoning of the property and not necessarily the taxation of the use of the buildings.
They're gonna inquire as to the percentage of that building that's being used to support this business on the overlay, and based upon whether it meets the threshold or not, it's gonna convert. If he keeps enough of it where he's not using it for the commercial business, he'll keep the ag usage designation.
I didn't know how
Goes
all
over that, yeah,
that worked because
yeah.
That's a good question, and I know he does use that shop for his own equipment. I mean, when
Yep.
you run a custom harvesting or custom cutting business, you work on a lot of equipment.
Other questions for Sharon?
What happens if he sells the property, the new owner has to come back in and,
So a conditional, that's a good question also. A conditional use permit would have that land use overlay still in existence as long as there wasn't a lapse. Say the next person that bought it didn't use it for that purpose for 5 years and then someone else came in and said, oh, I want to sell ag equipment here. Then they would have to come back in.
well, I'm just thinking if the next person bought it and they're not as neat as this gentleman is, and it becomes a junkyard, What do you do then with your CUP?
Then we address it
Okay.
on the, like, more of a KDOT salvage license type scenario. Then it becomes he would have to seek the owner would have to seek a salvage license.
Failing that, we also have the county nuisance element of it if we want to get into the, as far enough.
It ought to be tied to the CUP to where if he starts something disapproved of, then that ought to go away and he couldn't do anything then until something. That's,
Yeah, I mean, and that's, technically, that's the way all the conditional use permits are. That's a valid point.
Other questions? If not, do we have a resolution? Look at that. All right, any other questions for Sharon? If not, I'd move to approve Resolution 2024-7, a resolution granting conditional use permit to operate an agricultural equipment sales business at 1441 Highway 56, Hillsborough, Kansas, for Chad Inns. Second. Second by Commissioner Dahlke. All those in favor, any questions, discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. So no planning and zoning meeting this,
That's right, the April 25th meeting is canceled due to lack of agenda items, and we're still intending to have the May 4th, Thursday, May 23rd
May 23rd.
is the next regular scheduled meeting. And we're hoping to have it out at our new building.
Very nice. Okay, anything else for us?
I don't have anything. Do you have anything else for me?
Are you settling in the new location?
Yeah, we are. Still have a few boxes here and there. Still trying to keep up with the continuity of operations and finish up those last minute things and get everyone settled in, but I think all in all, it's working pretty well.
Good. Well, thank you again for heading up that project. It's to me a real asset for the county, for the 3 departments out there, and good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sharon.
All right, thanks.
Okay, we have about 15 minutes before Chuck. We have something else to fill in, or county counselor, would you have something for 15 minutes?
Is Chuck gonna be in the room? He's online.
Oh, if Chuck could come over.
Good, Chuck.
I texted him
Okay.
just now to tell him that
All right.
I haven't heard back.
While we're waiting for him, I'll report last.
It's on an ambulance call.
Oh, okay.
He may not
Okay, Chuck,
be
we don't need.
available at all.
There you go. Isaac's here at 1:45. Might see if Isaac can come in a little earlier.
Chuck says he's leaving the scene of a call and he'd be here shortly.
Oh, okay.
Shouldn't be too long, I wouldn't think.
For just a few minute fill-in, I'd report on the Kansas County Commissioner Conference that I went to last week for 3 days. Very interesting. 75 county commissioners there, several administrators, some counselors. But it was a very productive and interesting meeting. A lot of legislative updates, but before I start saying anything, not all of them have been signed, so probably best not to start giving anything till it's a done deal. But
It's been vetoed.
Three went unsigned.
Oh, yeah, 3 were unsigned,
But,
12 were, 13 were vetoed.
as you know, LAVTR never, they just did away with it. It was done, it's gone. So county taxpayers won't see that money coming back. The state violated the contract, and so just dismissed it. Kept trying to tell them, well, we should be able to levy those taxes then, because that was the contract. But, no, not interested. You may have heard Congressman Jake LaTurner is not running for re-election. So it was interesting, there were a couple candidates at the conference already campaigning. But my main takeaway is we're very fortunate in this county. The commission works together. We've had a strong county clerk. We've got extremely good department heads and elected officials that work together. There are some real train wrecks out there. There's some real horror stories. So I appreciate each one of you and working with each of you and with Tina and Ashley. And Brad.
Sometimes Brad.
And bad Brad. We still got work to do, but we're ahead of the curve.
There's been a big turnover in especially county clerks and county health nurses and places, different departments that really rolled over.
So it was a good conference, and I appreciated the opportunity to attend. I used up 4 minutes.
See on there, it says outside boards.
Yes.
I was alerted last week when we went to Hillsborough for the
Yes.
CDDO that my term is up there too.
Oh.
So somebody is gonna get to go to Harvey County CDDO. Because we've always, whenever, we've always just followed their rules that you can only be on 2 terms and stuff like that, So anyway, I think that's in June. And I think, I don't know whether the director is on the list to come in for budget yet or not.
I don't know that, I think they might be actually scheduled.
Yeah, I thought I'd give you a heads up. That's coming up for June.
So you're gonna,
Are those monthly meetings?
Yes.
so is there a commissioner with a burning desire, or?
What is it now?
CDDO, Harvey County CDDO, mental.
CDO meeting.
That's a Community Developmental Disability Organization.
So you're up on-
Review.
No,
You're up on both of them? Both of yours?
Yeah.
Which one's the other one?
Midcat, Augusta.
Has that always been filled by a county commissioner?
No, it's not, and it can be filled with, it. I guess I am serving as a government entity there to represent it on that board. So, I was gonna say, but we assigned, she used to work at the transfer station, and then she's worked for Butler County now. You remember her name, who I'm talking about, Buckner, Linda Buckner? Linda? I don't know if she's still working for Butler County or not down there, but we assigned her at one time on that. And so,
There are other representatives from Marion County on that board, aren't there? Like, there are, I thought there were like, there was someone representative of people that are receiving services.
okay, yeah, a little different, but not on the board for Marion County.
Okay.
I mean, you could, if we if they had an opening for certain, they've got records, they want certain people to fill certain spots on that board.
Different parts of the industry and economy.
Of what they want, some of them's of the people being served, they like to have a person for that. If there was an opening for that position, and we had a person, we'd nominate them, or send them as a nominee and see if they could accept them. So that would, but anyway, that's, yeah. I am a representative of government, that's what I'm serving as a government, and I think there's 2 people for government on that board. I'm one of them, but
I can reach out and find a specific.
Be a mayor, it could be a mayor of our community somewhere, that if we wanted to send for a nominee, and then see if they accepted it.
Tina, if we could get a little more information on the position and then see what our options might be, how we can advertise or reach out. Thank you for your years of service on the.
No problem, but I think that'd be a good deal to reach out, see if there is a mayor or something might wanna serve on it.
Okay, very good. We'll get more information and then we can start that process. All right, Chuck, so you've been on the run.
I've been on the run.
The run literally.
Man, literally on the run. I'm not sure what has been presented yet. Has anything?
So they have the policies
Okay.
in their packet,
Okay.
and I have not given them any explanation.
Okay. No problem.
So let's start at
fresh.
Start at the top.
So the state mandates that we have this list of policies. There was a few of them that were missing that we typed up from scratch. Most of these were already implemented. They're all in different formats, different Word documents. So we just kind of consolidated them all into one nice little packet.
I don't remember seeing a nice packet like this before.
Yeah, no.
This is nice.
There will be more policies coming down the road, but these ones are on, take precedence for time.
And that way you've got the framework, you can plug them right in.
So most of them are pretty standard. The only one that we need to address is probably the interfacility transfer policy. Excuse me. There's been several different policies over the last couple of years. Some conflicting with other agreements, and I believe Tina has some more expertise in this matter as far as conflicting agreements.
So we had a transfer policy that was adopted in August of '22, and then we had the policy that the board adopted in December of '22 that had some charges associated with it, like fees and everything that Brad drafted. And then after that, we had the agreements the service agreements with the hospitals. And so some of the things that are in those service agreements are in conflict with the
Standard policy.
the most recently adopted transfer policy. And so this new policy is, what's different about this one than what you have been doing, Chuck?
What I've been doing is basically the 60-mile thing, working with both hospitals. I've been doing basically this, taking bits and pieces out of the previous policies and agreements, and kind of just working as a patient advocate, really. So this is basically tidbits from all the policies and agreements summarized into one form, so we have something in reference to go and actually look at and kind of clear the pond a little bit.
So basically, this still has the 60-mile radius, but the center of the radius is the intersection of
190th and Nighthawk.
You have
Yeah.
one point of reference.
Yeah.
one point of reference. And then it does give a little bit of, it's basically stating that when we are adequately staffed, we can look at these other types of transfers on a case-by-case basis that are listed there. So it's maybe a little bit more flexible than what we had and have been following, so.
It does. It gives some leniency to let the director kind of work and work with the hospitals instead of, this is it.
And it does put in a statement that says that you have to have a certification from the physician for the need of the transfer, which has been a practice that staff has been doing, but it hasn't actually been officially in the policy in the past. So it's just codifying basically our current practice.
So I don't know if there needs to be something to take away the previous policies.
Well, that's one thing I did want to talk to Brad. So Brad.
Yes.
So my question is on this group of policies, should it be adopted by, can they adopt it by vote and saying that it is, that it basically anything previously adopted is, or do they need?
Repeals anything previously adopted inconsistent herewith is what I usually do. But that then, if we want to identify it more specifically, then I will specify including but not limited to as follows, and then I do that.
So there really isn't anything in that previous policy that probably should be kept other than what the current policy is, so
Then
I guess
just
my
replace it.
my question is, should these, in the future, as our practice, should these be adopted by a resolution in the future? And then that way, and then in that language of that resolution stating that this supersedes all previous. And then Chuck does need these before the end of the month for his state certification, so, we can, would it be soon enough to do them on payday, or do you want to? We can have them vote to adopt them today and then put them in resolution
That's
format.
right.
And
As
then-
long as they're adopted today, then I can submit it to them.
And we can do the resolution to ratify the adoption, if you need them today.
Yeah,
That's-
that would be, I would,
And then-
in case there's something wrong with the application process and it kicks us back another day or two, it just gives us some time frame.
And then any future policies that are added into this set, I think that a new resolution with the whole set together,
Yep.
okay.
Keeps it consistent, and that way, when you look back, we're not having to fish through 20 years of historical
Right.
adoption. We can do it with the current one, and we know it's there.
Yeah, we know that what the most recent thing is, is accurate.
Yep.
Okay.
So today we would, if the commission agrees, adopt the policies as presented, and then it'll be followed up with a resolution next week.
Yes.
So, okay, questions on the policies? Yes.
I have, as I was reading through, Chuck, I have one on your driving speeds there. I think this question would be directed to Brad probably, is we have a policy there that states some speeds, red light, speed, siren, and some without red light and siren. But if there was an accident with red light and siren at above the speed limit, who knows what the judge will tell us, correct? Depends on the situation.
Yes, it does. And generally, anytime we've activated, and Chuck knows this, at that point, the ability for them to go ahead and use standard for emergency response obviates the statutory scheme. If they are rolling without, if they're not running hot, they're to observe any and all traffic laws currently in place. So if they feel like, oh, we gotta push it a little bit, my response on that is always gonna be then turn it on. Because that's the only way that we, under our insurance policy, really have a defense. So in terms of would a judge rule differently, he shouldn't, he or she, but you know as well as I do that it depends upon, it's fact-driven a little bit, and that some judges will sit there and go, I don't care what it says, this is what I think, and I'm gonna rule that way. So I can never completely assure you. I can tell you what the law should do. If they're running without lights and siren, we have to observe, and we would have liability for going above. If we're running with emergency equipment fully activated or even partially activated, so that a reasonable person has knowledge that we're doing so, then we have the ability to, if you run a stop sign where otherwise you'd get a ticket, you're not going to be considered, you should not be considered liable for that, unless you're negligent in your operation.
Okay, there's been cases
Yep.
where exceeding.
Well, I paused.
Yeah. So, also, what about, this is our standard policy, but what about if we're exceeding the rules here? What's the, do you have any policy that says what kind of within the department that you would issue, whether it be
What ramifications there are for breaking the
Ramifications for-
policy?
That's a policy, I'm also, that's one of those policies that I'm working on.
Okay.
We don't have anything interdepartmentally. I know that, I can tell you that the speeding thing is strictly enforced. The lights are running hot, running lights and siren, and going above the speed limit is strictly enforced. If you're going above the speed limit, you better have your lights and sirens on. That's something I've conveyed verbally to all my crew. Now I'm working on an actual policy to give kind of some meat to the bone a little bit.
Well, we also,
In the personnel
Discipline.
manual, yeah. Sorry, Tina.
that's okay. We do have that addressed because they are subject to our personnel policies.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Appreciate all the work that you and Tina put in putting this together. I think it's a great, it's nice to have everything together in one place. Makes so much more sense. So with that, I would move to approve the Marion County EMS policies as presented, to be followed up with a resolution next week. And these would supersede any previous policies that have been. Motion by myself and second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion. Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carried 5-0.
The next topic, have we addressed, sorry, I'm coming in late, that call kind of threw a wrench into,
Your Florence ambulance or your?
yes.
So what we did is I just put a memo in their packet that talked about what you would like to talk about.
Is there any questions on that memo? The ambulance itself, it's a backup's backup. We're looking at spending this was quoted by Thad Looper. He doesn't do the AC stuff. He said best guess for 6 new tires and an AC and a drain and recharge, he's ballparking right around $4,000. That particular unit's gonna go on Purple Wave once the new unit comes in. The Florence ambulance has gone on 2 calls last year, and I don't remember those 2 calls being because all the other trucks were out, or if there was damage to one of the trucks. I can speculate. The only time that truck's gone out that I can remember is when the ambulance was getting an oil change and the stars aligned and it needed to be used. In those particular instances, we still have the backup truck in Hillsborough. It was just so happened the crews didn't want to drive over to Hillsborough and get the better backup unit. They just used the one in house for 45 minutes and caught a call twice. So I only have documentation that it's ever been used twice in the 2023. With the new unit coming on and in light of the new charges, we have to get tires. We have to do AC as part of the state inspection. I just don't see the thought process in spending money for those repairs when we're just going to turn around and sell it as is. So I would like to go ahead and pull it off of our state roster and go ahead and we have 2 options. We can either A, list it immediately on Purple Wave, or we can pull it off our state roster, put it in backstock so it's not in the state's eyes anymore, and then just kind of park it somewhere until the new unit comes in. I would prefer to go ahead and just get it off of our property, knowing that it needs repairs, and if we do hit mass casualty status, those repairs will have to take place in order to put it up front. I just want to give you guys 2 options to think about. Is there any questions?
Wait, if you total 2 ambulances, you had to get it back.
If we total 2 ambulances, that we would have to send it in and get new tires and get AC.
You could total 1 and still be all right.
Yes, we could total 1 and still be all right. We still have our backup over in Hillsborough.
If you take it off of the roster, what does it take to get it back on?
That whole maintenance.
Yeah.
So it's,
So I mean, that's just the process. It's not okay, you put it back on, you gotta wait 30 or 60 days before you can run it.
no, but it'll have to go back through the maintenance checklist. It'll have to go back through and get the air conditioner, get new tires put on it.
Total inspection.
When's the new unit? I know it keeps getting pushed back. I hate to ask it because it brings it back to light.
It's talking about September.
What date?
September
This year,
of this year. I've spoken to other ambulance manufacturers. If you think about it as this guy's Ford, the one we're getting ready to buy from, the other guy's Chevy. It's just these top manufacturers in the nation. He said they're in the same boat. They're not even they're anticipating orders out into 2028 right now.
You're gonna be out of warranty because of old age. Wow.
Well, and he explained it to me a little bit differently than Tim did, our rep for this ARV dealer. He said, well, if you think about it, Marion County got an ambulance out of this, small town America. Look at the whole nation, everybody's buying ambulances, so it just put them in a humongous backlog of stuff because of that COVID fund and everybody buying COVID ambulances. So that being said, we're getting into budget questions now. We need to get another ambulance on order pretty quickly, just for anticipation of it being 3 to 5 years out of a manufactured delivery date.
So is the backlog on all ambulances or just the special?
It's on, Dodge is no longer, they're so backlogged, Dodge is not even an option to get a chassis. Ford is your go-to right now because they're still doing commercial sales. Chevrolet, they're only allocating a couple hundred chassis a year to the EMS agencies. Just because everybody's on new truck back order for all different things. It's a nationwide issue.
Well, my other question then was, about a year ago, we were having a lot of trouble with ambulances down, and we replaced one unit or two?
You replaced a unit with another remounted unit.
It's a remounted. How has that worked out? I mean, are we still having the number of breakdowns we were before?
It's been to the shop a couple times, but it's just new issue things, it's stuff that's been under manufacturer's warranty.
Okay, they've been under warranty.
The issue with a remount is you're taking on somebody else's issue. So they take the old box off and they put it on a new chassis. This particular box is configured in a unique way.
Okay.
It's not necessarily how we would have designed it, but somebody wanted it this particular way. Once we get into this new unit, that unit, I would strongly urge that box get remounted again. So it's not, we don't have to buy a new unit every time. It's just I would like to get our boxes in so we know the history of them, so we know that they're structurally sound, so they're configured to our needs for our equipment, and then we can remount them on another chassis down the, 8 years down the road.
Okay. I'm sorry, Commissioner Downey.
Tina, did we get the title from Florence on this?
We have the title.
And it's been okayed through Florence City Council as ours?
We have an existing agreement from, what year was that, Chuck, 2007
2005, 8?
or so? I don't know. We have an agreement, which we have the unit. It doesn't need to be okayed by the city council.
Okay, I didn't know whether on that agreement, whether they said that they would like to have a chance if it was returned.
I can review it again, but
Okay.
it's.
It says I believe all property was turned over to the Marion
Okay.
County.
Good enough. I just want to make sure because I was sitting there making that, so I couldn't remember what it is. Haven't seen it since then.
I would think we'd wanna just go ahead and retire and sell it and get it, because we really don't wanna spend the money, because it's not gonna get any more on the auction if we put new tires on it.
No, that's my personal recommendation for what it's worth, is that we go ahead and pull it from the list and go ahead and list it on Purple Wave.
Other questions for Chuck? If not, is there a motion to accept his recommendation?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Garing, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Commissioner Crowfoot. And the motion was to do the early sale of the Florence ambulance on Purple Wave. Other questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate the little bit of discussion down the road too of what to look forward and keep an eye on, because we do not want to get behind again on ambulances.
And
Is there any other companies that are building chassis? Does Mercedes build them? I mean, you see a lot of Mercedes.
They do, but you better, we're close to a Mercedes dealership.
Yeah, you got him for you.
Yeah, It's, you're paying, I believe you're paying for a name once you get into that.
Actually, the delivery trucks that I've seen, they switched over, and I was like, you have a problem with that? You know, they're like, no, actually, it works out well. And they actually bought the Sprinters or whatever they are for cheaper than they could get the Ford.
Sprinter type ambulances are great for interfacility transfers, running down the highway. In a rural area with our
Have dirt or gravel road?
growing population, just in person size wise. It's a very confined space in the back of there.
No, that's,
What's he trying to say?
Take it for what it's worth, but it's sprinters have their purpose.
no, I wasn't meaning, I meant, you know, the brand, not necessarily the Sprinter.
I don't know. I can do some research. I don't know if Mercedes makes a 3/4 ton or larger chassis available other than the.
I don't know, you just see a lot of delivery trucks that are Mercedes now, and I've talked to people that said, we bought Mercedes cheaper than we could buy Chevy or Ford.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had 2 delivery companies that both have come up.
I will do some looking and see. I'll call a couple of manufacturers and see if they can get anything other than a Sprinter.
It seems like we're having less options all the time.
Yeah, got, try it, think of something different.
There's a Mercedes in Wichita too,
Is our,
Yeah, I knew there's dealers
right on
around.
Greenwich.
is our choice anymore, or is there a choice between truck chassis and what Chevys have for 1 ton, you know, just a cab and a little, or are we going to 4-wheel drives, or are we, I mean, what are you headed for?
I'm headed for 4-wheel drive, 1 ton or larger chassis. And I don't know if Mercedes makes something like that. That's gonna be my question. I'll have to talk to a couple of dealers, ambulance manufacturers.
What's the difference between that and some 2-wheel drives, cost-wise?
I do not know. I know that
Got a lot of ambulances, I'm just saying, 4-wheel drive comes in nice once or twice, but
Gray Rock, you don't need a 4-wheel drive.
Snowstorm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I said, 1 or 2 times a year, it comes in nice, but
Dead roads. Haven't had that lately.
I will look into that too.
there's a lot of wants out here, and we just gotta look at it and see. We got 4 or 5 ambulances to buy, so it went from 160 to 150 to, 300 and some, so.
All right, anything else, Chuck?
I think we're good on as far as.
The appreciation, or the open house at
Oh,
Hillsborough,
yeah.
huge success. Congratulations, that's a great idea, good turnout.
Yeah, it was a good day.
Thank you all for stopping by.
Very
Great
well
idea
attended.
for the little bouncy house thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That encouraged
Yeah.
more people that
I just wish it was nicer outside. We could have set it up outside and it wasn't as windy. Those
Daylight
things,
today.
it would have been air. Yeah, if we would have had really had that thing out in front, that would have. I think we would have gotten twice as many people just
But it brought
stopping by.
everybody in.
that would have been a real ambulance run.
Yeah.
Well, that's why
Mass
we went with
casualties.
obstacle course instead of bouncy house, because I could just see kid shooting right out that door, landed right on the concrete of the ambulance station. Like, well, that's not
Don't need that.
that's not good. That's not good.
But very successful and a great idea,
Thank you,
great idea.
thank you, gentlemen. Anything else for me?
That's it.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Okay, Isaac. We were right on target. Hello, Isaac.
Good afternoon.
Isaac? Yeah. Spring haircut too, so.
All right.
Warmer weather's coming.
That's right. I'm here. I've been working with Tina here. Kind of something that we've talked about for a while now, but it's just pretty much an agreement between the county, the lake, and our dock owners out there. kind of goes, in our rules and regulations currently, we have some basic rules about, how they're open to the public and building material size limitations, things like that. I know we've talked about some issues that we've ran into in the past with kind of gray areas. And this document here just kind of further explains some of that stuff. And the idea is once a year, we normally do an annual inspection, call the dock owners, let them know if their dock's in good standing or, there's something wrong with it that needs to be fixed, rotten boards, whatever the case is. And the thought here is that when we do that, we'd call, visit with the dock owner, have them come in, we would review this document with them, go over everything, and then get their signature, we would sign it, and that way there's no questions, or anything like that. If something comes up over the summer, we can go back to this, review it, and that sort of thing. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look over this. There's really no changes to the existing. It just kind of dives in a little deeper on some of the liability insurances, the definition of what is quote unquote in use for those dock owners, and things like that. So, have you guys had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, that, over here, that's, I think it's number 1.
Okay.
Item B, the top part talks about constructed, but it says may be conducted unless an existing dock is first removed. So
Constructed.
It's just the text, text change, that's all.
And there's,
Good catch.
Under B, the second line.
Constructed.
and I know too,
Contractor, it's kind of easy one for me to pick out.
Good job.
after we reviewed this on C on the second page, number 5C, Marion County is misspelled, so that was another one that we didn't catch that needs to be changed. I know that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Which one is that one?
Number 5C, just the Marion County may close docks for safety during times of non-compliance. Just Marion needs to be changed, but.
Spell check doesn't catch that. That's okay.
But kind of the thought here is maybe this will help with some of the, I guess, questions or issues and things like that that we've dealt with in the past. I know that there's still gonna be things that come up over the summer, but hopefully this will kind of help get us moving in the right direction there.
I appreciate the definition of actively in use.
Yeah, that's a big one that, we've dealt with in
I
the
think you've
past.
done a nice job.
You ever pulled a dock off?
No, I haven't. Well, but that is something that I kind of briefed with Tina when we went over this is there.
If you pull it off, there's a guy who loses his rights to have one.
Go enough?
Pull the dock off, do you lose your rights to have a dock on the lake?
So currently, the way that not this, but our rules and regulations brochure states is that if, we contact them that a dock needs repaired and they don't repair it, or it's not repaired, then we have the right to pull it off the dock off the lake at their expense. We've never
guilty.
done that, but
What's the fine for having a bad dock?
Right.
So, if the board wants to, add that under that section, we could say that they would lose their rights to have their dock there. It's not in there at the moment.
And the question then would be perpetually or just for a specified, period of time that would serve as kind of a form of, for the culpability, some kind of penalty. For 3 years, you would not be able to come back and make a request should there not be another instance for one to be available to be built, and that's gonna probably deal
Then
with.
that would just bump them out of the rotation, because you have people waiting for that spot.
Yep,
I would just
perpetually.
strike one, you're out.
Okay.
They're not gonna change their stripes, they're gonna do the same thing in 5 years. get their,
Other thoughts on that, or?
Dave used to live out there, so I kinda listen to what he has to say.
Well, it's
simple.
certainly,
Like, say he's never pulled, there's some out there that should be pulled out.
Yeah, well, and I know too, and that was like this year with last year being so low, then this year over the winter, everything freezing up. There's a lot right now that need work, and we've gone out. I've gone out and we've gone through them already, but and like year like that, it's reasonable. I mean, it's understandable that they took damage this past winter because they sat on the rocks for probably 7 or 8 months out of the year, and that's hard on them.
Probably some people had never been back to the dock. They haven't actually seen it in 5 years.
And that's yep,
I mean, but you can't fault them for that.
right.
But if it's in disrepair, you can.
Like Tina said, there's a waiting list, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Out and say, okay, next up.
Well, probably the guy next up would take it out and build one for himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
but you can't do it
if
that.
you want me to put that in here, we're gonna have to probably put it on, number 5D and then put another little sub number.
Kinda like one strike, you're out.
There ought to be a way, of method of notification and then time frame from then.
Yeah.
Just like a,
Yeah, and I know kind of the way that we've handled it. I mean, just in the past, like I said, we've never gone in and since I've been here, never gone in and pulled one out. Normally, when I'll call, I just tell them within 30 days, at least get with me with a plan and a timeline, and that way, because I know a lot of them they don't live up here full time, or like this year, which now it's better, but a lot of the times, like when they're damaged, it's like fixing them when the water was still low, or fixing them when the water's real high. It's kind of hard to do because you don't know where exactly everything needs to be. And so, I mean, there are times to where, or if there's blue-green algae, whatever the case is, that we've kind of given them leeway as long as we've had a timeline. And 9 times out of the 10, it hasn't been an issue. But there have been a couple times that it has been.
to own a dock out there, do you have to be a landowner in Marion County?
That's what I was just about to say.
I was
So
just
that's
getting
been
ready to pull that.
that's been $1 million question. There are a couple out there right now that are not, that had been at one point, that, have sold the house but kept the dock, let's say, is the most common instance.
Allowed.
That's kind of grandfather agreement, I would think.
And there's,
I mean, if you had a dock out there and you had a house, but then you sold the house and moved out of the county, wouldn't you be kind of grandfathered with that dock?
Not if we make the rule that you have to be a Marion County landowner.
and that's
Not
the,
necessarily a landowner, just pay property tax. Because like a trailer house, guys, they pay a property tax.
okay.
So,
Could be.
they're paying property tax to the county is
Right.
paying for the lake.
And that's,
$60.
Tina has a comment?
Well, I mean,
Tina/Brad.
so,
Be careful, I think.
I mean, because the docks are personal property.
Right.
And so there are, do we have the ability to actually say whether that personal property can be located on our property?
It's,
And so,
We probably do, but it's
Don't charge
a
them
question
for the
that
dock.
I wanted to ask also, because we really haven't dived into that or dove into that. Also, some of the other elements of them, Isaac, and I'm sorry, I should have looked this up, but I didn't. Size of those docks. Do we,
that's outlined in the rules,
okay.
it is, yeah.
which we reference.
That is one of the things in the rules and regulations, as far as building materials, what they can and what they can't be built out of, size requirements.
I saw that, I just didn't go back and look in terms of size differentials, or if you could build two together, if you had the ability to have two of them.
So there is one dock on the lake right now that actually has 2 slips in it, and it is over our size requirement, but
Yeah, two, that's why I was asking,
it's his and his neighbors, and I don't know if that was before my time. They said that they each had a private dock, they combined them.
Put them together.
Two separate rights into one. I got a
Correct.
question about this by neither of those people.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I didn't have an answer to it yet.
So there is one out there, and I mean, it was out there when I started, and that was kind of what I took from it, was at one point there were two, they combined them into one.
That's what I understand.
They pretty much took that size requirement and doubled it. And it's just like a big dock with two slips, and one half is one guy's and the other half is the other guy's, and they kind of went in on that together.
And they create complications for us because of this is, I think, a good definition of actively in use. But if you got two of them, and they take up the whole thing, but they didn't have a right to do so, I mean, not that this is probably gonna come up very often, but because someone else who noticed it out there asked me, I said, well, I'll look into it. That's as far as.
We'd have to probably research the minutes on that too,
Yeah.
because that would have been done by a board action.
Yeah, and I don't remember which one.
I'm pretty sure I don't have the month, but I have the year the dock was constructed on our documents.
Yeah, we could find
So
that in
I can
minutes.
let you know on that one.
Is there any docks that, from the day one, we've had all kinds of floats out there? And according to her, I'm just assuming, according to some of our new rules that the lake people put on us, do we have any rules that if there's one of them type, that it has to be repaired or the floats have to be replaced?
Yeah,
So,
so the way that works is with those exposed styrofoam floats, they're grandfathered in, but the state's policy on that is if that dock ever needs any kind of major construction or it gets rebuilt or whatever the case is, those floats have to go and have to be replaced. So as long as they are on a dock that is in good working order, they are perfectly fine. Once they do any work on that dock that exposes those floats, they have to be replaced.
And I think our park regs need to be updated to match the state, to reference the state requirements for docks, because we have some outdated language in our regs.
And we don't adequately define the major repair. Like when you say, exposes them, well, okay, so I take up 3 feet of the dock floor. Have I done sufficiently enough to require that or not? We don't adequately identify that.
so then he comes out and he pulls the dock off to rebuild or put a new one in. Is that lose his turn? Or if he's gonna do that, I mean, we need to put that in the rules too, so that somebody said, well, you say if you pull a dock off, you lose your turn.
No,
I mean,
Yes,
That's not in there right now.
the county pulls the dock off.
well,
You
yeah,
can take your own dock out and fix it.
yeah.
And there's been a
Needs to
lot-
be stated, that's what I'm saying.
There's been a lot of them that have been doing that, which is great to see.
It's easier.
And I think if we treat those like non-conforming uses in terms of our planning and zoning code, you're pulling it to put it right back in again, only in a repaired state, and you're taking remedial measures. I think that'd be pretty unfair to tell somebody, okay, you're done now.
Yeah, you're making the
Parking
improvement.
spot
Yeah.
at the mall, huh?
Yeah.
So, back to that first point, that Dave made about that they would lose the right to have their dock out there if they're habitually not keeping it in good repair and we have to pull it. Would it be enough to say on that point, that's point D2, for continual noncompliance, the dock may be removed by the county at the owner's expense, and owner may lose rights to have the dock located at that spot or something like that?
Dock. All of a sudden, somebody decides they're gonna sell their dock to that same habitual person, they gotta be
And
taken out.
does
If
everybody?
they sell it,
It's just like a person that doesn't pay the property tax and winds up on the tax sale. They're not allowed to go bid on another piece of property.
So does everybody on the board want that clause in here?
I think it's,
I mean, it's there.
I see it worded somehow, so we can all look at it and understand it.
What we could do then is start from a premise that you have some flexibility on shall lose, subject to review and waiver for good cause shown. I started putting all that stuff in, and that took away the advantage of what Tina and Isaac had sent me, which is this is in plain language, everybody understands. The minute I start changing it, I'm gonna get this, what the heck did you just say, stuff.
we gave them a privilege.
you just gotta put
Have a
it
dock
little
there.
tiny print right down there.
Have we,
Just put your phone
have
number.
have we come to any kind of conclusion of when a person sells a house and does what we said a while ago, keeps the dock? Is that what we really want to do? I mean, it's our lake and our dock. I mean, our privilege to allow some docks there.
I really think you gotta have some skin in the game here in Marion County to have.
I do too.
To have a privilege
I agree.
like that.
I mean, we all
What you can
have,
do is just this point moving forward,
But.
you have to either own property,
Jonah,
however you want
those
to.
docks
yeah,
out there,
yeah,
so
take a look at it.
by a guy out of county. I'd like to have it, where that one, where Doc Schleifer's dock used to be, right there by the corner of the dam. That's owned by somebody out of county.
That's what we're interested in talking about, yeah.
But you can't really make him,
Well, from
get rid of
what Dave said, just from this point forward.
You grandfather in the ones that are there, but at this point moving forward,
With a change in
I'd
ownership.
say moving forward,
And
if
if
you
he
don't have
changes
any-
ownership, it goes away.
any other interest
Right.
in Marion County,
but then what do you, after 20 years, you sell your house and leave.
then you need to get rid of
So
it.
you-
especially when you got people that want them, so.
Yeah, with demand, I would probably say you lose the right at that point. The reason being, otherwise, you can get somebody who lives in Oklahoma who decides, I've got the money, it's no big deal. I should be able to come in here, because there are public access ways for us to get down to the water line. So they don't have to be a property owner to get there, it's not landlocked. And they could come in, and if they happen to be on the list and their number came up, they can build one, and they have absolutely no other contact with this county other than that dock.
Now you're going into another deal that there is a lot of them that docks right to their house, right there, to that house, right there. And so, yeah, that's a very good point to where, what's gonna happen there when they split it, and then this is sort of the situation where the trailer house out there that burned down, or the guy wanted to just sell it here not too long ago and put the price of $80,000 on the lot. Sort of getting down to the docks could be 80,000 too, so, I mean,
They're well on their way.
yeah, so I'm just
Costs
saying.
10 to build one.
Well, and so I think we really need to look forward to see how we wanna view our Marion County Lake in the 15, 20 years from now. I don't know, it's just a good discussion.
To make it more muddy, so they can buy a single lot in a little town or about half an acre in the country, and that's good enough.
As long as they have property, they're paying something towards that lake somehow.
Okay, then that cleans it up, that makes it easier.
I mean, yeah, there's a loophole, but, you know, at least they've,
Does that give some guidance? Tina does too.
We're trying to put too much in one thing.
I think,
So,
It also creates issues because you guys are wanting to try to do this today, I would assume, because if you're gonna try to do your inspections by the end of the month.
Well, I mean, worst case scenario, we at least have something in play for next year. If we can't, and it's something that when I do call the dock owners, I can let them know that, hey, this is something to maybe expect for next year. If we can't get it done this year, I mean, at least I feel a lot better that we're working towards something. If we can't, I mean, ideally, yeah, it'd be nice to give it to them this year, but if we can't, we can't. And
We
it's
can do
something
this-
that we can at least get ready for next year. I can let them know about it and we can go from here. But, I mean, yeah, it kind of, and it's kind of, I guess, the thing with this every year.
It's a living document and it's gonna have more
We're
changes.
doing September.
Or you have two other choices. You could try to stick this on to your end of month payday meeting, or pass it as it is with the corrections for the spelling and knowing
which
that
have
we're.
already been corrected, by the way.
And then we will make some additional revisions, because there's several other things we need to discuss. I read this and thought this is a good start.
Yeah.
And I sent Tina that request because she was good enough to send it to me well in advance. And so I think where it's at does a lot of things and addresses the biggest issues that we already have, which were these property owners going, how do I insure this thing? And what do you guys do on this? Well, they keep forgetting that you have, it's a privilege we're giving you to put one there for your own convenience. And the reason we did that is so that you will, because it's on public property, allow others to use it when it's not. But then their question was, well, what happened? I built it, I want to use it some of the time, or I wouldn't have built it. And that, they've addressed that in here, I think, more than adequately. So if you want to pass it with that, knowing that we're going to come back with some additional amendments.
Kent sat on the board years ago for the county lake. Do you remember Kent ever hearing that this all started for docks was only granted to people that had cabins and things out there when they was put on, when they was put on there.
That's why I asked
That's
her.
the original start. So,
How many years ago was that, though?
well, regardless, I'm just saying.
In the fifties?
Well, it was even farther back than that. I mean, when the dam was built and the cabins was started up there, so.
It is enforceable for you to simply say, if you so chose, that unless you own property out there at a certain level, that you don't get on this list at all. If you chose to do that, that's policy matter and outside my wheelhouse. But you could do that and go back to it, and sooner or later, over time, you'll lapse these uses with non-owners and go that route.
I don't remember ever talking about those,
No, there wasn't.
because if somebody was out there partying, Dale just would
That's, I was gonna say,
tell them to go home.
yeah, that's,
Maybe Isaac did the same thing, I don't.
That's-
The Dale had a bullhorn from the other side of the lake, that kinda scared you. Go home.
yes,
He'd flash the lights at you, too.
but that's where this dock deal really come from, was the cabin owners and how they was awarded, and the county had so many spots, and that was the original way they was put there, so, I don't know, something.
I don't. At one time, they probably had a certain number of cabins that was gonna be built, I guess. I don't know how all that, it was such a cobbled up a mess, you know?
There's 3 or 4, I don't know how many.
Two cabins to a septic tank.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Glad those days are.
Yeah,
Okay, so our options at this point are we can go ahead and approve the agreement before you, knowing that we'll come back and revisit it, or delay and try to make some more changes. My understanding is the document before us addresses 99% of the issues.
I'd move that we use the written document that was presented today,
Text changes.
and we'll work on it next fall.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Crowfoot to move forward with the agreement as presented today, the two text changes. A second?
I just don't know what's coming
With,
out. You're threatening this.
He said to keep on working on it.
You're right, and continue to work next year on the other changes.
Or sooner. It's
Or
just-
sooner, yes, or sooner. But keep working toward the other changes that have been brought up today. So the second was by Commissioner Gehring. Other discussion or questions? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Isaac, I'll send you the correct spelling.
I read over it like 4 times and I caught it when I was on my way in here. So, I don't.
Marino County.
It's so easy to do that.
After you look at something for a while, you just kind of read over it.
But you've done a very, very good job in condensing and easy to understand language, and it's come a long way. All right, what else do you have for us today?
That was really what I was here for, unless you guys have any.
You want to do another policy? Another lake policy?
we do something that, just like on your job descriptions and all other concerns, or something, and down at the bottom, we put
Everything else?
rules may be changed, Marion County Commission or something. I think, put it on there so that it's always on there and people can understand that that's.
The last time it was revised.
Yes. Yes, like the other one, the latest version is the version.
Let me fix that, then I won't send it yet.
Okay. Any update on the electrical systems?
Yeah, so, Funk has been finished now for about 3 weeks. So when they went to go to hook up to our main power source, Evergy came out
Right.
and they told them that once they dug down off that pole, they want to replace the pole and they want to upgrade the CT panel box. They said the CT panel box was at that point, they said 12 to 16 weeks out.
CT cabinet?
Cabinet,
I've
yes.
got 2 sitting in my shop.
Well, supposedly Funk called me back 'cause Funk called me back 2 weeks ago and they said now it's scheduled to show up May 1st. And so right now we have all the new pedestals in the ground, wired, hooked up. They're just not hooked up to the pole.
They do take 6 months to get.
Okay, that's what,
That's not, but I have some, if somebody would've called me.
maybe I'll tell them to call you because so what, we're still in working order now. So what they did is once they got to that point, they kind of called me and gave me two options. As option number one, they could keep the old electrical just in the ground and hooked up until Evergy comes out, then they can swap it all over. Or they were just gonna hook the new up to the old panel box for the time being. The concern being with that being 50 amp. If it was busy and everybody was plugged into 50 amp, it'd probably overload the system. So we just went ahead, the old stuff is still on the ground and active. There's just a new pedestal right next to it that's not hooked up yet. They said as soon as Evergy comes out and gets that pole and everything set, that they will get everything done in a day. So we're active, we're just waiting for that new pole and CT box to come up so they can hook everything up and we'll be
What
finished.
size CT, which size service? Is it 200, 400?
It's 400.
Yeah, I have 600 and an 800, so
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to help anyway. Well, they could just put bigger CT on.
And then, I guess, I don't think I've talked to you guys since, on the dam.
Okay,
So we did get a survey done.
okay, good, we have not.
It's not good news. They realized that realistically, in order to get done what the state was hoping to get done, we would have to go probably about half mile, 3/4 of a mile down that creek channel to get it to where it needs to be. So Brian called, actually right after he got the survey done, he called the state DWR and they kind of went over everything. So where it has been left for now is the state said that they were gonna get together and review the information. Brian has asked for either a variance or maybe just what do I wanna say? Just leave it be for now. Because it would be a substantial amount of work. And actually the state was hoping that maybe we would only have to go 100, 200 yards, and that's not gonna be the case. So they're looking at options now. They said when they come up with something, they would let us know, let him know, and kind of review that. So I've informed the landowner, we're just kind of at a standby right now. I'm not sure where it's gonna go from here. So the state's gonna review that information and those numbers, and then they said they'd get back with him and we can look at what they're gonna want to be done, so.
The important thing is the information's gathered.
Yes.
So now it's basically in their hands to make a
Yes.
decision.
See what,
And then that's the point where we find out what we do.
But doesn't have to be approved by Corps,
say that again.
Corps engineers?
As far as, well, it probably will be, but I
I
don't,
mean, it's just a classic case of federal overreach like everything else we face.
so we're just kind of, waiting for that, and as soon as I hear something, from Brian, I'll let you guys know, but.
Well, we'll look for that in 3 months.
It's okay.
I'm being optimistic. Who knows? But at least the information's been gathered.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
important.
yep.
Fair, yeah. Okay, very good.
That was it for me, unless you guys have any questions.
Questions for Isaac?
We never did hear how cold the water was.
Cold?
Cold?
It's still pretty cold. Yeah, it's
All right.
still pretty cold.
Fresh.
Fresh.
But we are at normal level,
Oh,
which
good.
we're.
I'm surprised that, I'm surprised that the lake came up like that when, of course, all the rain has come.
It all came
across.
through over here.
Yeah, cause I mean, other
missed us
reservoirs
over here.
still like 4.5.
The big lake hasn't
Yeah.
caught a drop.
So we're not complaining about anything. The docks are floating again, and yeah, I don't know how we're full, but we are.
Good. That's good news.
And the water's still cold, so there's no.
It's still cold.
No algae yet.
No algae yet? No.
Amazing
It
how
actually
quickly
looks
it starts,
really, yeah,
so.
it looks really good. Yeah, Harvey County.
Yeah, East had
Harvey
it.
County East got put under a blue-green algae warning last week.
Harvey County East
It's about
doesn't hardly
They don't have
exist.
water either. Yeah, they don't have water either.
That bridge doesn't even need to be there. I just drove over it yesterday.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So pretty fortunate.
Okay.
One thing we don't do, and the commission's been thinking about it, is looking at our projects that we've done and taking yearly reviews of it. I'd really like to know how the heated dock building's doing so far. I mean, is it malfunctions, or are we still floating good? And Since we moved it out 10 feet, didn't we? Yeah.
Yep. We have actually had no problems so far. Pretty much the biggest problem, which was a problem with the old one, is trying to find a way to keep all the bugs off of it during the summertime. I mean, it's one of those things, we go in and deep clean it at the end of fall, and it's fantastic for all the winter, and then spring rolls around, and it's normally okay. Then by the time July comes around, it
Flies.
yeah, little bugs attracted to the lights and all of that stuff. But we haven't had any major issues. It's been a busy place, that's for sure. I mean, there's normally on the weekends, in the mornings, 14 to 16 vehicles down there. There's been a lot of people using it, a lot of people that really like the new one. And yes, I mean, so far I think it's gone over really well.
It's just about like your CXT bathroom, which is the bathroom we put in out there. Cemetery that I'm taking care of. Them bugs are in there. I mean, I don't have no lights, I don't have no power, but them bugs are in that bathroom that we gotta have something done with.
Things, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Isaac? If not, thank you. Appreciate it. We
Yeah.
made some progress today.
That's right. It's a start.
All right.
I just added that little thing that's subject to change.
He's writing on it.
I know. He's gonna add something I have to translate. Maybe.
That's it, just that.
Oh.
Should have wrote it in French, just to be facetious.
Or Latin.
Yeah. Then she'd have to translate.
She really under her breath, this is stupid attorneys.
No.
It's the roll of the eyes.
Oh my gosh. I never learned to stop doing that. I really try. Okay.
Okay. Brad, what do you have for us?
I'm gonna try a methodology change, consistent with what Tina does. This one, you will ultimately, actually, I'm sorry.
You got that email?
Yeah, this is the email.
It's ready.
It will look something like this, on a weekly basis. And then I would ask if you, have things that you would like addressed at the following meeting, just send me a quick email, ideally by Wednesday or Thursday of the week before, so I have enough time to get it with what Tina is doing on Friday. I'll break it in generally to these kinds of categories, or maybe more, and it will be in two parts typically. One will not be labeled attorney-client privilege communication. That can go into the regular packet, it's available to the press, and it will be an update on things that obviously should be open and need to be disclosed, and kind of, as you were indicating earlier, a good way for people to have some understanding of what it is that we're doing, what all of the various legal projects are. And this is a small kind of a sampling. It goes on for multiple pages, the one that I took all of this off of. What I did here within the last 3 weeks, and since I've been gone for 2 weeks at different meetings, these are the things that have had some level of activity on them, in particular in the last 3 weeks, that have been substantive in some way. And so I want to at least always give you kind of that kind of an update, so that it's kind of in the packet, and if you've got questions, it prompts them, or you'll have some idea. And it won't just be a list. It will have commentary for each one in terms of, try to keep it to 1 or 2 sentences, but something that you can glance through, read, and see and know what we're doing, or what I'm doing. I also, because I want to institutionalize like a monthly meeting with Tina, now that she's in that position, it will help with that as well, in terms of what we're discussing and what goes into them. It provides me with kind of a punch list on a regular basis too, of different things that are ongoing, because we'll have things that we start and then they kind of languish for a period of time for reasons that are beyond your control or mine. And then there's obviously going to be, like the litigation matters, that some of those are going to be on an attorney-client privilege when they are not expected to go into the packet. And they will be things that you'll get a signal in advance. We're probably going to have an executive session if this is on the list this week, because I've had a conversation with our legal counsel from the carrier, or something else has transpired, or a new case has come up, or even potential litigation matters, because periodically we get that kind of thing with enough frequency or things go south that we are at a point where I need authorization to file an action or compel someone to do something or do different things with it. So that's kind of what I want to start with. And I sent those out to you after I kind of finished up with this morning. That's how you will get them, along with, I'll bring hard copies in case anybody needs them for some reason. And next week, most of this stuff will be on there, so I probably want more than 15 minutes. Because there's a fair number of them. But a couple of things in particular, the dock owner agreement, obviously we've dealt with that today. I have a pretty substantial amount of information I need to get to Tina first, and then to you on the transfer station management guidelines and how that can work, what we can do and how we can do it. The hospital agreement, I can tell you right now, we still haven't gotten it back, but I check on it each week. And it isn't the local, I mean, he's always apologetic about it. Yeah, he said it's still with their management group or whatever, and I've asked him if there's some way that we can press that a bit, because I'd like that one put to bed since Marion signed, St. Luke signed theirs a long time ago. But again, related to that are things, there are some policy changes that need to be made, as Tina mentioned, that came up, that it looks inconsistent, and what Chuck is working on hopefully addresses that. We've never dealt with things like certain policies on rock application. A lot of those, though, I want to filter through Tina because they're policy matters, and she should be participatory, and also department heads in that. The planning and zoning updates, there's a number of things there, some of which I've mentioned briefly to Sharon, others I have not. It came up in the last couple of weeks as I finished up the Doyle Creek watershed agreements. We do have a few small things that need to be upgraded and changed in order to be consistent with what we're doing there, in terms of flood control, et cetera. And then some that came up and I had inquiries about or messages about, like out at the lake with the trash contract. The memorial, I put that one on there just as an example of some of those that just kind of die on the vine, but they shouldn't. And we either need to reach out to somebody or do something with them periodically,
I
otherwise.
talked to Mr. Kreitzinger about a month ago, and he said they're still trying to get a grant. But you know how that goes.
Yeah.
You might get one this year, or next year might be 5-6 years. So, I mean, it's still on the table.
Yeah, it's still out there and being considered. We had some things, though, as you'll recall, with survey and what we did that perhaps we could button up and say, okay, we're done, we've done all we can do. This is all in place. The county administrator has a file on it. If and when you get a grant or you get something, then get back with us and we can pick up where we left off. But otherwise, it kind of is left at loose ends. The next one, that's gonna take some time for me to explain with regard to the issues with the Corps over at that reservoir bridge and some of the things that we're dealing with there. Burns de-annexation is not anything pressing. The last time I checked on that, and I think Tina had contact, that was kind of in their legal counsel's hands, and we haven't heard anything more as far as I know, but just another one that I'd had out that I wanted to be sure I mentioned. Then you get into the areas of things that are listed there. Nothing wrong with these being publicly known in terms of a list, but they are all elements of either current or potential litigation that are still to be dealt with. Those will likely always be, unless it's just a report on some progress or what a judge's ruling was, those are likely to be executive session ones if we're talking about anything strategic or that in some ways privileged. So.
We're still not getting anywhere on that 350th bridge.
No, we are. Oh, we are. Our engineer is to give us, and I don't, Tina, has he sent you anything this week? I haven't had a chance to ask you. No. Okay, no. So I need to call him to find out if we've got the bill.
Send the bill to the landowner. Let him deal with it.
Well, and their carrier would like to, his carrier would like to get resolution to it too, so.
Okay, Randy, you had a comment?
Yes, one on the ice and fence relocation. You asked me to view it here
Yes.
not too long ago, and I did go view it, and the owner has put up one post on each end of his land there that's vacancy, and restrung electric wire between those two. And so that's where we're at. I do have pictures of it.
But all the vegetation was basically removed, correct?
Yeah,
Trees and all?
the county boys did that. I've got a video here too of that. Yeah, and there's the fence going down. I've got the picture of the fence going right back down through there, so.
Specified ballpark.
Oh, yeah.
The
It's
electric
it's not
fence
even
back
close to
on the
it.
road?
No, you can look at it there. You can see it right down that one.
I had heard it was back on the road.
Well, not quite that far, and
Not
not where
quite
I've seen it. That's right there, so.
Classic example of one that can kind of just stop and then he figures, well, I haven't heard anything from him, so we're fine. And last I knew, I didn't know about even the electric fence wire, but last I knew there was nothing beyond the cleanup that we had basically done, and it was still sitting just that way.
Yeah, they did that pretty quick, like with the two crooked posts, both of them crooked up on one on each end. And that was about a month ago when that one was taken. But I did talk to the other landowner that was concerned, and he said there had not been, at that time, there had not been no cattle got onto his property yet, so.
Well, if you keep the vegetation out of an electric fence, it tends to work a little better.
Yeah, so.
Just wait a couple of years and they'll be all out again.
So that's one thing that's happening.
The resolution called for a permanent
Right.
live wire.
And was there time
Yeah,
constraint?
we're way past that.
Okay, well then it's time for enforcement.
Yep.
Okay. Good, you can move that
Mhm.
onto active.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the intent going forward, and I just kind of wanted to give you that overview, but for action, there are several of these that will require action next time in terms of the approval on the draft agreement and indemnification on the watershed project. I think everybody else will find that acceptable, but we need to take that formal action for adoption.
Okay.
So I'm gonna follow that process going forward, I think.
Probably another one to add, your contract has expired some time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a change in the way we're doing administration. Is it time to do an RFP and redefine the parameters of that contract? And, commission work with Tina on how we visualize the position of counselor.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one won't happen by Tuesday.
Watch him, Brad.
Yeah.
Watch him.
It can't be before the fence resolution.
Okay.
We need to get that fence resolved.
He's looking for things we want to get off of there.
Kent wants the bridge resolved. I want the fence resolved.
Mm-hmm.
We all want things resolved.
I want the Meyer one.
We want the Meyer resolved.
Yeah, there you go.
We I had that on here.
Yep,
didn't I?
it's on there.
Yeah.
What's Dave's priority? All of them?
Dave wants to get rid of docks. He just wants.
Oh, it was on the dogs. Okay, you got yours this week.
Yeah.
Clean up the lake.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, that's on there too, is removed.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Brad?
No.
Yes.
I have a couple here. We heard just Sharon asked that they canceled a meeting for planning and zoning and stuff, and a while back I said direction for planning for zoning, I mentioned it. And so I think we need to probably get directions and give them some directions, whether on small houses or matter of how there is mobile homes being put out here, and I don't know what all the rules are and stuff, and I probably need to brief myself with Sharon on that, so we know what's going on here. That's one of them but I thought if planning and zoning need something to work on, well, we need to give them things to work on. So, and everybody might have something they want to work on with the planning and zoning. The other one is I will catch you up on an incident that I called you about and told you about, the trash with a contractor and our transfer station. I got an update today, this morning at 9-10 o'clock, that our transfer station operator had called and very nicely accepted to tell him to go ahead and he could do it on the dates that, because I talked to Josh on the Friday, anyway, and on the dates that maybe he wanted to, so I think they're working together there and stuff like that. What happened is a contractor that demos things wanted to they called into our transfer station and wanted to give them 7 days notice that they was gonna take a house or do something with trash in Gossel, Kansas. And our transfer station denied.
C&D?
No, it's not C&D, it's trash.
Oh.
It's trash.
Property cleanup.
Property cleanup is what it is. And so, anyway, the contractor was perturbed and, 7 days notice and and the reason given at that time was all of our small cities are wanting cleanups.
They're all doing it at the same time?
Yeah, and stuff. And so anyway, I think that, that was one of it, but when I talked to Josh, he understood too that we still got contractors out here that they bid a job, they want to work with us down there, but yet they can't sit around and have a piece of equipment sitting around them 3 weeks or a month, or this was even, the dates was given next month, a month later. So anyway, that person was upset with our system, not with the transfer station so much, with the system. And so when you think about it, I don't know, Jonah's a contractor, and I don't know how many of you have heard contractors. This is not the first time of a complaint of this type, but we don't have no place for C&D. We don't have no place when you have a trailer house destruction. You got to separate the metal from the wood, and then where are you going to take some of that kind of stuff if we can't handle it down here? And maybe I'll be one of the first to mention it. Is maybe we need a C&D landfill. I mean, other counties have them. They're building. Harvey County's building a new one. Their price.
McPherson building a new one too, aren't they?
Maybe two. I'm just saying that we have to pay a lot to get rid of C&D in this county. If other people can make it on $26 a ton in their county, or less than 30, and we have to charge our people now, is it 45 or 50 a ton for C&D? I don't remember, which it is, but
I don't have that committed to memory.
yeah. But anyway, I just say that we need to be thinking and looking, and maybe.
Is a C&D landfill different than a regular landfill?
Yes.
Is it less permitting?
I think they still got to have a liner and stuff,
I
and
mean, do you have to go through all the EPA hoops and all that?
Yeah, because you don't know what's coming in on the C&D, so you gotta make sure, that any certain materials.
yeah,
Because I know to get a landfill through takes years.
But if it's eventually becoming a problem, we need to be looking far enough ahead to see a solution.
I would think you would have cleaner Marion County if you had a C&D landfill.
Because I was talking to the guys Saturday at the transfer station, and they got a house coming in every week for the next 5 weeks. People are scheduled.
Sure.
Plus what you and me bring in,
Plus all the city spring cleanups.
Every week, every city is at least doing a different week for cleanup.
Yeah.
But they told me they had 5 houses
Yeah,
coming.
kind of
And that-
all bunched together.
That
when
right there, Dave, takes a lot of their time and their space out of their facility to handle that. And the outside contractor don't know why that they was told this, so.
And we want
So
people
that's
to
just,
And C&D is $50 a ton.
C&D is 50, okay, that's what they thought, and so, in some other counties is half of that, $26 a ton for, so, I just think that we
Going
need
to the
to,
quarry.
Huh?
There's already a hole out at the
well,
quarry.
I'm saying there's a lot of quarries around this county that's just sitting there. But, I don't know. Like you said, Ken, it does take some time, but if we don't get started somewhere, what's the future
Yeah.
hold to us?
But do you make them, I guess you're talking about just county, you're not talking about opening up to anybody else.
Well, I think that would depend on the size you build probably and what it can handle. I think.
Whether you would take any from the
Whether-
outside,
yes,
so you'd be
yes.
considered a regional.
Yes, yeah, mm-hmm, yeah.
Because this county went through Civil War on the last one.
And that was for a trash landfill. And so, and the whole problem that in the south end down there was they was worried that the underground water would flow towards Florence, which it does, towards Cottonwood and that way. And that's what a lot of that, where that come from. So, you know, there's different reasons why people were upset. I accept that. But I can tell you, well, Dan, when he was on his term, we looked at it very seriously when we was hauling trash to Topeka. So I think it's something that we just need to maybe see what's out there and see how, I don't know all the rules, Kent. Yeah.
So mid-step processes too, like you can bring in like any biodegradable stuff, then it's more of this kind of recycling, right? It's a different form. It's all your banana peels, all your orange peels, all the stuff. But you can buy these units that actually make a gas, natural gas, and then puke out fertilizer at the end. So it can shave some of your trash waste by reutilizing it.
That would be in a trash one, right?
That would be trash, but this would take that out of what we're taking to the landfill.
And some of these C&Ds, they've got rules and regulations that they go to by too, and they try minimizing what goes in under C&D too, so, yeah.
A lot of it comes down to you have the time to separate. And
Yeah.
you can make everything work if you have time to separate.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, you bet. All right, Kent, we set aside time for the 3030 report. Sorry I could not attend, but it sounded like it was a very interesting
We had a
session.
Marion County Patriots for Liberty had a speaker come in, talk about the 3030. A lot of people don't know about it. It's a Biden initiative to address climate change. If you want to look at that, this is really pretty comprehensive and detailed enough, but easy enough to read that I won't spend a lot of time. There's a lot of information. A lady named Angel Cushing that lives over by Emporia, I believe, is part of the Western Region Property Rights Coalition, and she's been putting on these programs to inform people what's happening. The government wants 30% of all ag land and water taken out of production by 2030. And they've already passed an executive order on it, number 14008. And a lot of people don't understand how they're going to do that, but a lot of that is tied to your CRP contracts, your conservation easements, and National Historic Trails. We have 2 National Historic Trails in Marion County. Feasibility study is now being done on the 3rd Zebulon Pike National Trail, which will cut all the way across Marion County. They use these trails for eminent domain purposes because they don't just encompass the trail. It's also the distance you can see, as far as you can see, either direction. So they cover a lot of it. There's already been counties that have taken action to oppose this. Butler County has taken action to oppose 3030. Coffee County has taken action to oppose 3030, and Decatur County has taken action to oppose the Great Western Trail, which is a new feasibility study in western Kansas. And so a lot of people don't understand. We've got conservation easements, land that people have bought and put in conservation easements in Marion County. Maybe you all know of a person that's done that. They could basically lose total rights to that property. even though the deed's still in their name. There is very little they can do. The CRP contracts, they showed us the maps of the CRP contracts in the United States. The heaviest concentration of CRP contracts run western South Dakota, western Nebraska, eastern Colorado, a little bit of western Kansas, and then down into the Panhandle. That has been designated as a wildlife corridor by the U.S. government. What that means is if, Randy, you own a section of CRP out on the state line, that comes out of contract. You don't want to put it back in, the CRP. You want to make a pasture. So you want to have to fence it. Federal government will not allow you to fence your own land because it's been designated as a wildlife corridor. And so these issues are coming up pretty fast, but it's not anything that ever makes the news. You know, it's always some watchdog group that is trying to watch this, but this is a really good publication that they've put out. It answers a lot. I've got some other pictures here of the trails. This pike deal, it scares me to death, because that's in feasibility study and nobody knows about it. Because Zebulon Pike traveled in this area. In fact, he camped at Cottonwood Crossing multiple times because he kept going into Nebraska and the Pawnee Indians chased him back. He finally gave up and went west, and that's when he discovered Pikes Peak. So, anyway, it's something that, you know, we need to, I'm not saying we should pass resolutions yet, but we have a copy of instructions on how to do that, which I'll give to Brad. And I'll give him a copy of Butler counties and Coffee counties and Decatur counties.
Okay, were those for me or are those for Brad?
Yeah.
They are for Brad?
Yeah, you could give it that or make copies.
Okay.
I got as much as we could, but everybody was grabbing handfuls.
Butler County has done something, Ken?
What's that?
Butler County has done something?
Butler County has already approved a resolution opposing the 30 by 30.
They don't even have Lewis and Clark on here.
The what?
They don't even have Lewis and Clark on here. That goes through some of us too.
Well, they might come up, well, wasn't that part, didn't they kind of follow the Oregon? I'm not sure.
Lewis and Clark went through right over here. I know that for sure.
Okay.
There's a memorial, right?
You've been there, you've stopped there.
But can you imagine a piece of land that you have that you want to put back into ag use, and you're told you cannot do that, so you turn around and try to market that? What's it worth?
Nothing.
Well, I guess, Kent, in your scenario, I only had 20 acres and it was in CRP, and I got out of that as quick as I could, so. I mean, they paid good, and then after I got out of it, they paid better, so I sometimes wonder.
Well, the thing is now that most of the contracts, and do you have any CRP?
Mine's
Most
all.
of your contracts that were written 10, going on 20 years
Yeah,
now,
going on 20, 'cause they've
started
been-
out at a really high rate, and then they come down the next 10 years later, it was a little bit less. I'm on the second go around, and it's about a third of what it started out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very interesting. I wish I could have been there in person, but I appreciate you bringing us to.
I actually think this lady could talk for hours. But if we had her come and say
Yeah.
15 minutes, she could give us a really good overview. I mean, this is her thing. She does this all day long, every day, and she's pretty interesting. So I gave Tina a card if the commission's interested in having her. I mean, being Butler County's, Coffee County's not too far.
Right.
We need to be looking at this. Private landowner rights are really in jeopardy. If things don't change over the next couple of years, we're gonna see things that we never ever thought we'd see in our lifetime.
On this one, the red areas
So how's
is,
that gonna affect the Flint Hills out here? Grasslands? How do you take that?
Well, what I'm saying is, in order for them to utilize this, they're using the national trails, CRP, and conservation easements. There's conservation easements in every county. I know of one conservation easement south part of Marion County that covers
Well, in our district.
section and a half. There's one up north. And everybody thought that was a great deal, you know.
I think there's quite a few in the Flint Hills.
Yeah. There's quite a few. There's, I think maybe 3 or 4 in Marion County. There's, about every county's got 1 or 2. So,
Well, we appreciate you bringing us the
just a
information.
heads up, and I think we need to stay on top of that. And
Give
I
Commissioner,
don't know if a resolution would do any good, but I think if every county in the state would, it may have some impact, I don't know.
Won't cost anything.
No, it isn't gonna cost anything. I mean, I think it's just us saying that we oppose the acquisition of federal lands to address climate control. And that's what it all is.
I see what Kent's trying to do here in this book, down here where where it says opposing, let's see, page 3 of 12. Where the missing link there in between those 2 red lines, if you look at it.
yeah.
They wanna have, in the end, 681 million acres permanently protected.
Yeah.
That's a lot of land. I don't know how many acres in Marion County, in Kansas, but I'm guessing we don't have 681 million.
We don't even have a million.
Did that lady, we see this is all out here in the big country, Kent, there's none back east. Is there anything going on back east that's opposing it?
It's not gonna affect the east or west coasts.
It's not gonna affect it, okay.
Well, that'll give commissioners a chance to do some homework, research into it a little bit. The Butler County resolution was quite lengthy.
They go into more depth.
There's a little bit of political statements in
Yeah.
it that I don't know that would be necessary in a resolution. There's a little political point being made. At the same point, if the concern is valid, then it give commissioners a chance to do some research on it.
Yeah. And I think we should, I personally would recommend that we have her come for a 15-minute, hit the high spots.
We can do that.
So if you wanted that done in the next month or something like that, then we probably need to contact her, because she's speaking 7 days a week, I think.
Maybe get through budget first, or not.
I can do it whenever you say,
Oh.
whenever the commission wants.
That's it. I said book it, Kent.
Okay, so,
Whatever, book it.
okay, I'd see a consensus from the commission to contact her and see if she would be available,
Okay.
May or June. That'll hit right in the heat
With
of
the time
it.
limit,
You what?
with the time limit.
Yes, let's shoot for a 15-minute presentation. All right, thank you, Kent. We appreciate the information. Any other commission comments before we close? I want to say thank you to Tina and Ashley for the active shooter training. I hope it was well received by the employees. It was very it was educational for me for the session I sat in, and the commission for the appreciation for the employees, and again, clerk's office and Tina for their work to make that happen. It was a really good turnout.
Yep.
Really good turnout, and I think there were some good comments from employees. It was appreciated to do that. So thank you both for all of your work to make that happen.
Thank you for cooking and bringing the meat.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for the meat donations. Both good.
Any other commission comments? If not, I move to adjourn. Second by Commissioner Gehring. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carried 5-0. We are adjourned.
9:30 on the 30th,
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock on the 30th.
On the 30th?
30th.
For payday.
Oh, that's right. That's right.